Hello, this is Ugo Uche with Road to Resolutions, and in this video I'm going to be talking about anger management. And there's a blog post I want to critique. It's by the side blog Understand Your Mind, and the title of the post is The Upside of Anger: 6 Psychological Benefits of Getting Mad. I didn't, even when I wrote my book, Anger Management 101, I didn't realize how controversial the issue of anger in the psychology community is. In regards to the camp, of one camp believing that getting angry is good for you, and the other camp believing, which I fall into, believing that getting angry is truly a waste of your time. So before I proceed, I want to highlight that I don't encourage people to hold their anger in or pretend that they're not angry. My style of therapy when it comes to dealing with anger is helping people address the beliefs that trigger their anger in varying circumstances, and how to substitute those beliefs with healthier, more realistic beliefs, so they can go through a process of accepting things not going their way, and coming up with healthy, dignifying solutions. So that's my style. So I'm going to go down this blog and address the points being made. We'll skip all this right here, get to it. Okay, number 1. Anger is a motivating force. The author says you were right. You sometimes hear people talking about using anger as a motivating force by turning anger into positive energy. In fact, anger itself is a kind of positive energy and powerful motivating force. Research has shown that anger can make us push on towards our goals in the face of problems and barriers. In one study, participants were shown objects that were associated with a reward. Though we are first exposed to angry faces, those shown angry faces were more likely to want the objects they were subsequently exposed to. When we see something as beneficial, we want it more when we are angry. So when used right, constructive anger can make you feel strong and powerful and help you push on to get what you want. Okay, so there is no such thing as constructive anger. Anger is not a motivating force. Anger is a false positive, particularly when it comes to feeling powerful. If you are angry and you set about to achieve a goal, it's a matter of coincidence in which you had leverage that you could have accomplished the goal if you were not angry, or luck happened to be on your side. Anger is not a motivating force. Here's an experiment that you can do. Go to any boxing gymnasium or any martial arts dojo and ask the instructors if it's good to get angry before a competitive event, and see what they tell you. A good instructor will tell you that it's not about getting angry. Matter of fact, the last thing you want to do is to get angry. What you want to do is get focus. As I go down this list, really, my argument is this. A lot of people, a lot of researchers are confusing anger with assertiveness. A quick Google search for research studies on assertiveness reveals very scant results, because there isn't a whole lot. A lot of what may be misconstrued as anger is really people being assertive, and I'll talk more about that as I go down this list, probably towards the end. Angry people are more optimistic. Number 2, it may sound like an odd thing to say, but angry people have something in common with happy people. That's because both tend to be more optimistic. Take one study of fear of terrorism carried out in the aftermath of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. In the study, those experiencing anger expected fewer attacks in the future. In contrast, those experiencing experiencing more fear, we're pessimistic about the future and expected further attacks. Okay, so if an angry person is optimistic about things going their way, and things do go their way, it's really a matter of entitlement. And sometimes that can be a false positive, and if things actually go their way, it's just a matter of coincidence. So even with the 9/11 terrorist attacks, in which the United States government chose to take the path of retaliation, the American government has the most powerful military in the world, arguably. And so whether you were angry or not angry, it would have been a sure bet to bet that America would have pursued retaliation. And that's how the war has turned out. It's a different conversation. Different topic. But regardless, for an angry person to feel optimistic, that's really just a false positive. You're really just tricking yourself. Anger, again, is a false positive. It gives a false illusion of power. Angry people have really nothing in common with happy people, except that they are people. And those experiencing more fear will probably be more realistic about the possibility of future attacks at home and abroad. So, anger can benefit relationships. Number 3, anger is a natural reaction to being wronged by someone else. It is a way of communicating that sense of injustice, but society tells us anger is dangerous and we should hide it. What does this do to our personal relationships? Oddly enough, research has shown that hiding anger in intimate relationships can be detrimental. This is very, very true. The problem is that when you hide your anger, your partner doesn't know they have done something wrong, so they keep doing it, and that doesn't do your relationship any good. The expression of anger, if justifiable and aimed at finding a solution rather than just venting, can actually benefit and strengthen relationships. So if my wife engages in a behavior that upsets me, being upset with my wife doesn't necessarily mean I'm angry, even though I could very well get angry, and the source of anger comes from a place of entitlement, as in, how dare you do this? But once you come to realize that people can do what they please, particularly adults, whether you like it or not, you have to come to a place of respecting that. Respecting that doesn't prevent you from getting upset. So if I'm upset with my wife, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm angry with her. If I'm upset with her, I should share that with her. It's called communicating. So you should communicate with your spouse or your partner what you're happy with and what you're not happy with in the relationship, and then you guys should work together towards reaching healthy compromises in the context of the relationship. So I think the author is confusing being upset with being angry. It's not the same thing. There are a plethora of emotions that occur, negative emotions that occur before you reach the stage of anger. And I'm going to continue to emphasize that anger comes from a place of entitlement. Really, if I'm upset and I communicate that to my wife, I'm practicing assertive communication skills. Particularly when I communicate it to her with dignity and respect and compassion. Anger provides self-insight. Number 4, anger can provide insight into ourselves if we allow it. A sample of Americans and Russians were asked about how recent outbursts of anger had affected them. 55% claimed that getting angry I think he or she meant to write had led to a positive outcome. One top of this, one third said that anger provided an insight into their own faults. Oh my God. If we can notice when we get angry and why, then we can learn what to do to improve our lives. Anger can motivate self-change. Okay, so this is just complete rubbish. It makes no sense whatsoever. When you are angry, you are operating from the amygdala, which resides in your primitive brain. you are not you are not in a state of mind to do any self-reflecting whatsoever. In order for you to do that, you have to be calm, you have to be relaxed, and you have to be humble. Angry people are not humble. Again, anger comes from a place of entitlement. So the author doesn't even make an argument. He or she just keeps using these random studies and doesn't even go into depth about what the studies were about. And when I get some time, I'm going to look further into these studies. Anger does not provide any measure of self-insight. Matter of fact, if you're experiencing self-insight, you're not angry. Again, you may be upset. I may be upset and be doing some self-reflecting. That doesn't mean I'm angry. Anger reduces violence. Although anger often precedes physical violence, it can also be a way of reducing violence. That's because it's a very strong social signal that the situation needs to be resolved. When others see the signal, they are more motivated to try and placate the angry party. If you are still not convinced that anger might reduce violence, imagine a world without anger where people had no mention for showing how they felt about injustice. Might they jump straight to violence? This absolutely makes no sense whatsoever. Anger does not reduce violence. Actually, quite the opposite. More specifically, when people feel entitled, it's because they feel that they are better than. So feeling better than actually promotes violence, especially if you have some measure of violence, some measure of leverage within the construct of the social hierarchy to inflict violence without consequences on other people or members of certain ethnic groups. And of course, every time you feel slighted or wronged, or you feel that your expectations of entitlement have not been met, you will resort to anger, and you will resort to inflicting violence on somebody who you believe is not in a position to fight you back. When people actually stay away from violence, it's because they're dealing with another party that's capable of holding them accountable if they inflict any measure of violence against them. This is a fantasy for people who have poor anger management and they don't want to work on their anger. Anger as a negotiation strategy. Number 6, anger can be a legitimate way to get what you want. In one study of negotiation, participants made larger concessions and fewer demands of an angry person than one who was happy. So there's some evidence that anger can be used as a negotiation strategy, but it's more complicated than that. You just can't lose your rag and expect to win everything you want. This is true. Anger is likely to work best when it's justified. If you appear powerful and the other side's options are limited. Obviously, in the right circumstances, then it's possible to both get mad and get even. Okay, so this plays into exactly what I'm saying about anger being fueled as a sense of entitlement. I once worked at a program, a treatment facility, where kids were restrained and body slammed, and myself and another counselor were advocates against the violence being practiced against kids. And of course, the law supported the program in practicing this violence against kids because they called it therapeutic restraints, some rubbish like that. One day there was a kid who was about my size and very muscular. Actually, I'll say he was a bit taller than me. 16-year-old, played football for his high school. I was put in the program mostly for drugs. I won't even go into what his issues were. But one day he, pretty much insulted a staff member, told the staff member to go F himself, something to the effect. And this was a staff member that was notorious for just body slamming kids and just falsifying reports about how he was defending himself or some nonsense like that. And I'm observing the situation because the staff member was just not in the position to take down this kid. And what did he do? He spoke to the kid with compassion, and they had a nice talk, and they went back to the kid's living quarters. And I confronted him. I said, okay, from now onwards, the smallest kid in the program, that's how I want you to address the situation, not body slamming anybody and giving me some talk about therapeutic restraints. So, number 6 is just a contradictory of what the article is about, because it's pretty much saying that it's okay to get angry when you recognize that you have the leverage, you have the power to get angry or throw a tantrum and not be held accountable. That's called bullying. Bullying, in my opinion, is a form of cowardice, which is pathetic. And at the end of the day, people are going to see you for who you are when somebody stronger or who has more leverage than you comes around. The golden rule: treat people the way you want to be treated. And this falls into, I'll reiterate, anger comes from a place of entitlement. If you want to solve problems, you have to take an attitude of humility. Taking an attitude of humility is you have to accept when things are not going your way. Accept the situation for what it is. Let go of your expectations and recognize that what you truly expect are really just preferences. And taking that attitude alone is half the battle towards addressing things in the right comfortable way. It's not about you being a doormat. It's about you addressing your issues from a place of dignity and self-compassion. So, an interesting thing about this article is that it got a lot of views and a lot of shares, and it's one of those things that speak to people's desire to hear what they want to hear, even if it's just not accurate at all. So I completely disagree. I completely disagree with the gist of this article, or should I say, blog post. In my book, Anger Management 101, there we go. All right. In my book, Anger Management 101, I introduced the reader to the psychology of anger, and it's a 2-part book. I introduced the reader to the psychology of anger, and the second part outlines cognitive behavioral strategies for identifying beliefs which lead to poor anger management, which lead to you getting angry in the first place, and adopting healthier belief that allows you to practice courage and acceptance, the courage to accept things not going your way, which is half the battle towards coming up with solutions. It's not about stuffing your anger. It's not about pretending that you're not angry. It's more about recognizing the more vulnerable feelings, the more vulnerable negative feelings that you're experiencing before you get angry, before you want to feel powerful. The number one reason you get angry is that they want to feel in charge, when they have no frame of reference as to how to address things not going their way. So it's Anger Management 101. It's actually out on print. You can buy it in print on Amazon, and this is the Kindle version I'm looking at right here. Also, I also want to use this opportunity to talk about my recent book. To end your panic attack. Oh, here we go. Okay, so how to end your panic attack, 6 evidence-based cognitive behavioral strategies for how to end your panic attacks. I'm not really going to go into it too much of it here, but it's written in the same format as my anger management book. One part talks about the psychology of panic attacks. what triggers them, and the second part talks about cognitive behavioral strategies to bring your experiences with panic attacks to an end and prevent the reoccurrence of future attacks. So that's it for now. Thank you very much for your viewership. If you like this video, please click the thumbs up button. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll be using this as a primary medium to express my professional opinions on topics related to the issue of mental health. And so that's it for now. Thank you.